This week on Supercars Talk, my camera's working once again, I talk extra entries in the field and preview this weekend's round from Symmons Plains. The big news this week, after the disaster that was last week with the camera stopping, thankfully we're back up and working again. It looks like the battery just went and died. I went and bought myself some knockoff batteries, considering how much the genuine Sony's ones were. Bought myself some nice cheap ones off Amazon, and the problem has fixed itself for now. Also, the bonus is now I have some backup batteries, because the camera only came with one internal kind of lithium-ion battery, and now I have multiple ones just in case, so we're back up and running. But the real big news this week is that Tickford is going to a 9-day fortnight for its mechanics. Not sure how that works around race weekends. I know myself at various points over the years, I have worked a 9-day fortnight, which just meant you got paid a lot of overtime. It was nice to have that 3-day weekend every now and again, even if most of the time it meant that you worked on the Saturday to catch up on what you didn't get to do on that Monday when you had the day off. But it did mean that you had, essentially you guaranteed every fortnight, you had a 2-day weekend, so you had the Sunday and the Monday, and yeah, on the alternate weekend you had the Sunday off, and you just got paid a lot of overtime basically to catch up on those days. Not sure how that works for those guys while they're traveling, whether then that's overtime. It would actually be really, if you are a Supercars mechanic and do watch this and would like to actually come on and have a chat about things like that, I would really enjoy that, because it would be interesting to get a kind of a mechanic's view on, with all the traveling, what they have to go through, because you know, we see what the drivers kind of do on their Instabook stories and things like that, and it all looks like a lot of fun, but there is a hell of a lot of people in, you know, kind of behind the curtain that make the whole thing run, that it would take a hell of a big toll on especially their family lives and that, with the time that they have to spend away, because it's not all quite as glamorous for those guys. Now, the main topic I wanted to cover off this week is talking about extra entries within the field and the wildcards, because this all came up this week with talk that the 26th license or charter or whatever you want to call it these days, I still like to call them licenses. Yeah, it's just me and my old school ways. Now they are racing charters or whatever, since the whole everything changed a couple of years ago. Anyway, I'm going to refer to them as the licenses, and the 26th license that is effectively still available. Apparently it's not for sale. I think that's code for it's not for sale until the Blanchards want to buy one, until they're ready to run 2 cars. They've come out and said it's not for sale, and essentially because now all the teams with this new charter thing where they've signed on, it is a guaranteed $650,000 income for the teams as long as there's 12 rounds. If there's a 13th round, the teams get a little bit more income. So what essentially Supercars have said, we do not want to sell that 26th wreck, because then that costs us another $650,000 that we have to give out to those guys each year. Now, my idea on this would be, okay, we have your 25 entries, boom, that's it. But if the Blanchards want to run a second car, they're more than welcome to come along, run that car every weekend as long as they enter it. Essentially, it becomes a wild card for the full year. You pay your normal entry fee or whatever each round, but you can come and run. There's no restrictions on how many rounds or anything stupid like that. Like at the moment, if you want to run a wild card this year, you can only do 1 sprint round and the 2 enduros. So essentially you could do 3 rounds with your wild card, but you are limited to 1 sprint round and the 2 enduros for the wildcard you cannot do anymore. My idea would be that if you want to, you know, if you've got a big backer that's over in Perth or something like that that wants to run an extra car that weekend, wants to pay for it, you can go and run a third car or whatever, depending on the size of your team, but you can go and run a wildcard on that weekend if you want to. There's no limitations on it, as long as you get your entry in on time. So I assume somewhere like Symmons is probably the biggest limited track for the grid, how many garages there is. So that would have a limited amount of wildcard kind of entries available. Say they've only got 28 garages, so you've got to be one of the first 3 to enter your wild card there. Say you go to the Bend, I think they've got the most amount of garages. Say they've got 40 garages, or somewhere like Bathurst, the enduros are a little bit different because there is probably more people that want to go and do enduros there. But say you're a small team, last minute, you kind of go, let's do a wild card. The Bend is a good place to go to because they've got a lot of garages, and those ones haven't already been gobbled up by people like, say, the Blanchards, who are going to go and run the whole year. But that is my idea. And then obviously there's no income with those wildcards. If you want to go and run under that wildcard system, no income, but then say one of the teams falls hard financial times or whatever, you could then buy your way into the series to get that income off there. Once again, I know a lot of people are probably going to complain that I always bring up IndyCar and how well I think they do things, but they have their, it was 21, I think it's back to 20 now. Off the previous year, the top 20, they get their, I forget what it's called, but they essentially get their prize money for the next year. As long as they turn up, they get their $1 million check for the Leaders Circle money. So they get their money from that, and then the guys who are outside of that top 20 in the championship don't get anything, but you can still turn up to all the rounds. So it's just the guarantee, like if you're in the top 20, you've had to have done all of the rounds the previous year. But say like with the license system here, you have your 25 licenses, you have to turn up to all the rounds, you get your income. But if you want to be that 26th car all year, that's fine, you just don't get any income. You want to be the 27th car, fine, no income. And then that just bolsters up the field, and then if those guys have the opportunity, they can buy in if someone wants to get out. And I think maybe, if you've done, like say in the Blanchard thing, they want to run 2 cars all year, they can. And then if someone else wants to get out, or someone wants to realise their asset and doesn't, they don't care about that guaranteed income or whatever, they want to sell their entry, then the Blanchards would have the first bite on that one. But that's just my thoughts on how we could, increase the field without diluting the income, which seems to be a big issue with the current teams and that, and it seems to be what some of the argument in Formula One is at the moment, the dilution of the income if there is more cars out there. But it is a way for people to kind of have a soft entry into the field without having to make that big commitment, and with it being able to enter without having an actual license. Yeah, but that's just my thoughts. Yeah, down in the comments, let me know what your thoughts are. Yeah, because I mean, realistically, as a fan, I just want to see more cars out there. Yes, okay, there's the business side of it, but I want to see more cars out there racing. Now, also, speaking of all this wildcard system and whatever, the human headline, Peter Adderton, has come out once again this week, and he said, the cost of entering a wildcard is too expensive. So this year it is $25,000 to enter a sprint round, or $50,000 to enter one of the enduros. For that, you do get your entry fee or whatever to the round, you get your garaging, you get your tyres, you get your fuel for the weekend. So there is a little bit, it's not just a straight out entry fee, you do get all those other kind of bits included. Probably don't quite add up to that whole thing, but that's where it is. He's saying, too expensive, I'm not going to enter. The Walkinshaw thing, when they said it was too expensive, they were talking about all the other things, like you've got to have a car, you need a transporter, you need a crew, you need a driver or drivers. So realistically, Pete, you've gone and spent $1 million buying this Camaro. That's, because the figures are just getting, by the end of the year, it's going to be like $1.5 million to buy one of these Gen 3 cars. But say, you know, you've spent your large amount of money buying your Camaro off 888, it will be the you know, highest purchase price one of the lot, because it is a 888 car, so they're going to charge their 888 premium on it. You've spent all that money on that. You then need to have a transporter, you need a crew to run the car, you need a driver. You've gone through all of that, and now you're complaining that it's to the 25k to enter. That's too much money. Yeah, I don't believe that one at all. Now, finally, we're back to racing. The gap wasn't as big as the last one, but it does feel like a while since we were out in the West this weekend down to Symmons Plains. So obviously it was a good idea to have a break, because it is a long trip around Australia if you're based in Queensland at the moment. Melbourne, not so bad, but yeah, those Queensland boys have been racking up some Ks. Anyway, this weekend down in Symmons Plains, it is a 2-day event, Saturday and Sunday only. So Saturday, there'll be 2 practice sessions in the morning, followed up by one of those 3-part qualifyings that we all love, and then the sprint race on, you know, Saturday afternoon. Sunday will be 2 15-minute qualifying sessions, followed by 2 sprint races in the afternoon. Last year it was an all Shane Van Gisbergen affair for the winning. Brock Feeney finished second to him in the Sunday first race. Will Davison took out second place in the other 2 races, and third on the podium was Waters, Reynolds and Di Pasquale, all doing that job once. This weekend it's going to be interesting to see if Shane can come back to his winning ways after a bit of a lacklustre trip out over in Perth, or whether the Erebus juggernaut continues. My little dark horse prediction for the weekend, because as I've been trying to do this year, as it's too obvious to pick Shane Van Gisbergen for the wins, so I'm going for a dark horse this weekend. I think Jack LeBrock. Keep an eye out for him. I'm not saying he is going to win, but I'm predicting some strong results from Jack LeBrock. He's been quite speedy here in the past, and he's been looking pretty good in that MSR Camaro this year. He'll be in the top 10 somewhere, and James Courtney to once again be the top Tickford car. But they're my dark horses, fully expecting it to be kind of an Erebus, Mostert and Shane Van Gisbergen fight up the front, with a little bit of Brock Feeney sprinkled in there in the mix. They're my dark horses. Down in the comments though, let me know what your predictions are for the weekend, and let me know what you think, how we should expand the field, considering that they don't really want to just open up more licenses, contracts, charters, whatever you want to call them at the moment. Do you like my idea of just, you know, free for all on the wild cards everywhere, or do you have a better suggestion for it? Yeah, down in the comments, let me know. But I'm excited about the racing on the weekend, as you should be too. Also, check out Backseat Drivers on Thursday night. We have a separate channel for it, so look out for that and subscribe. There's some other little bits of content going up on there as well, so keep an eye out for those. But until next time, I'm still Dave, and I'll catch you later.